Alright, welcome back product designers to your next tutorial. Today we're going to be making fidget spinners, but we're going to be making them with cute little animals. So to do this, the first thing that we need to do is we actually need to go to Google and we need to search for silhouette or simple silhouette SILHOUETTE animal. So go ahead and search that, simple silhouette animal. Go to your images, and then you'll see that there's tons of different animals. Now, you need to make sure that you choose an animal that is able to be turned into a fidget spinner. So if it's like really skinny and long, that might not work so well. More round animals would be better. We need these outlines because you'll see once we put it into OnShape, it's hard to get a lot of the details. You can add some details after the fact if you want to add eyes and things, but everybody's going to start with just a basic kind of outline here. So I'm going to go ahead, let's see, what do I want to choose? I'm going to go with this turtle. This turtle's calling my name, I think. I like this turtle. So when you find the silhouette that you want, what you need to do is you need to take a screenshot, and it needs to be as close as possible to the animal as you can. So when you take a screenshot on a Windows computer, you press the Windows key and then Shift. You hold these all at the same time, and then you press the S. And when you do that, your screen will kind of go dark here, and then you'll be able to draw a box. So you want to draw your box as close as possible, but you don't want to cut anything off. So try to get to like the very edge, and then you click and hold. And we'll try to get as close as possible here. Boom. And then you'll see that that'll come up. You click on that, and then we need to save this. So you click on the Save button, and if you go to your Downloads folder, we'll just save it as a screenshot from today. If you want to give it your name, I'll call it Turtle. Okay. So now that I've got my image that I'm going to end up tracing, I'm going to go back into OnShape and start by moving to my top plane, hiding the front and the right, and then creating a new sketch on that top plane. This new sketch is going to be called our animal picture. And if you accidentally hit the green check here, you'll see that your sketch toolbar goes away. To get the sketch back up, you just double click on it in the timeline there. Alright, so we've got that. We've got the animal picture ready to go. So now it's time to import that picture. So if you don't see this image, you probably won't. You're going to see this right here to start. We don't have a DXF or a DWG file. Those are sketch drawings, they're blueprints. We don't have those. We have an image. So if you click on the drop down, you'll see Insert Image. And if you go into there, you'll see that there's no images available to find. We need to import our image. So click on that. And then choose your file. Open that. And then you'll have an image that you can put down. So to actually put that image down, it says select the imported image. So you select it. And then you'll click and draw a box and try to get it over this as the center as much as you can. It's pretty good. If it's not perfect, then you can move it around. So if you just click on the corner of the box, you can move it. Try to get that center point, the origin, in the center of your image. So once it's in the center there, then what we're going to do is we're going to put a dimension on the longest side of our image. So you can only dimension one side. So we'll choose the longest side. And the longest that you should have your longest side for a fidget spinner, and I just know this from experience, is 70 millimeters. So if you want to have like the biggest one, anything between 60 and 70 millimeters is probably going to work for you. So I'll do 65 because it's right in between. Okay, so then I'll confirm that sketch because I don't want to edit that, it's just a picture. And I'm going to create a new sketch on the top plane. And this is going to be where I actually do the tracing. So this is the animal trace. And again, if you accidentally hit the green check, you can get back into it by just double clicking on it. And this time we're going to use the spline tool. And what the spline tool does is it allows you to trace things with curves. So every time you click, it just gives you a new point on the line. And if you don't click and you just move your mouse, it'll give you kind of a curve from the previous point. So it takes some getting used to, and you might have to practice a couple times and delete it. But you can choose any point to start with. I would recommend not starting on like a corner. So starting on like a flat side, so right here would be perfect. And then as you're doing this, I would also recommend holding the shift key down. So as you hold the shift key, what'll happen is so sometimes when you're moving around, these auto constraints will pop up. If you hold the shift key, it'll prevent those from popping up, and it'll just make your tracing a lot easier. So you can zoom in and zoom out as you're tracing, but basically every time you click, it'll put a new point on the line. So you can see it kind of curves with that. And then when you do get to a corner, my recommendation is doing 3 clicks, one right before the corner, one on the corner, and then one right after before you kind of continue to move on. All right, so you'll do this for your image, continue to trace it out. I'm going to fast forward through this so that you can work through yours. Okay, so once you get back to your final point, it's super critical that you don't miss. So make sure that when you hover back over your final point to connect it, that yellow box pops up, and when you click, it'll all turn solid blue. Okay, so we have our sketch done, and that's perfect. So we can confirm that, and if you want to actually be able to see your sketch, you can hide the picture. So now you can see we just have this sketch here. And it's nice and gray, that means that we can extrude it. If it's not gray, then it means that your sketch didn't get closed in all the way, and you're going to have to fix that. Okay, so the last thing we have to do is we have to extrude it, and then we have to make a place for the bearing. So if you're looking at the bearing and you're measuring that with your calipers, the thickness of that bearing is 3.8 millimeters. So we need to make our extrude 3.8 millimeters. And then when we're cutting the hole out for it, the actual width of the bearing is 12.8 millimeters, but we need to add in that tolerance of 0.2, so we'll make it 13 millimeters. Okay, so let's go back into our sketch. Like we said, we're going to extrude this, so we click on that space, click extrude, and it needs to be 3.8 millimeters tall. Confirm that, and now we have, if we 3D print it, it'll be a plastic turtle. That's cool. But we want to make it into a fidget spinner. So in order to do that, we need to add that ball bearing, and we need to try to do it right in the middle. Now that I'm looking at it, I don't know if this point's in the middle anymore. Oh well, I'll move my circle around for it. So if yours isn't in the center, it doesn't really matter. You can actually just hide that origin. If you hide that, then you can do your circle wherever you think the middle is here. So we'll do a sketch. We'll click on that top surface. We're going to do a center point circle, and we're going to try to find where the center of that will be. Don't worry about where you click that, because we need to put the dimension on that. So a dimension, and that needs to be 13, because that's what we need to cut out. Okay, so I'm going to get out of my dimension, and then I think it actually isn't too bad, maybe just a little down to the center. If you need to move your circle, just click on the center point, and then just move that around right there. Cool. Okay, so we've got our sketch, and just to be proper, we got to give this a name too. So this is our bearing sketch. So if we do need to go back and edit that at any point, we'll know which one it is. And then we can go back and click on that area and extrude. But this time we're going to do a remove instead of an add. And if we confirm that, then we have our fidget spinner. So you can, if you wanted to add some eyes on here, you could, do another sketch. And, I don't know, maybe do a center point circle on here with some eyes, and you could extrude those up. This is all something that you don't have to do, but you know, if you're like, oh, I want to go a little above and beyond and try something out and make it cool. There we go. So now my turtle has some eyes. And you know, you could do other things, maybe make some different patterns or whatever you want. You could also print it out and then use the 3D pens to design it even more. Lots of options with this. Really hope that everybody gets this done today. I want to see some cool animal fidget spinners. I want people using these things. Once you finish it, I'll give you the caps for the bearing and it'll all come together. All right, good luck. We'll see you tomorrow.